vanachari Jamunatira vanachari Jai Raja Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivājakacharya Asutarasi Srimad Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Yantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Nitai Gaurapimanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Nama Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Pada Sarvadaya Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vachani Vishesha Srimati Vachani Satani. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nasta Prayeshu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So, reading from Śrīmad Bhagavatam. This is a new chapter, 27, entitled Understanding Material Nature. And before we start this chapter, we're going to just read the translations from the last 4 or 5 verses from yesterday. Apparently they weren't even read. And class went right into the last verse and jumped over them. So let's start with text number 62. And I'll just read the translations. There is only one very small purport, and then we'll move on to text number 1 of chapter 27. Text number 62. When the demigods and presiding deities of the various senses were thus manifested, and they wanted to wake their origin of appearance, but upon failing to do so, they re-entered the body of the Virata Purusha, one after another, in order to wake him. Purport. In order to wake the sleeping deity controller within, one has to rechannel the sense activities from concentration on the outside to concentration inside. In the following verses, the sense activities which are required to wake the Virata Purusha will be explained very nicely. Text number 63. The god of fire entered his mouth, and with the organ of speech, but the Virata Purusha could not be aroused. Then the god of wind entered his nostrils with the sense of smell, but still the Virata Purusha refused to be awakened. 64. The sun god entered the eyes of the Virata Purusha with the sense of sight, but still the Virata Purusha did not get up. Similarly, the predominating deities of the directions entered through his ears with the sense of hearing, but still he did not get up. Text 65. The predominating deities of the skin, herbs, and seasoning plants entered the skin of the Virata Purusha with the hair of the body. But the cosmic being refused to get up even then. The god predominating over water entered his organ of generation with the faculty of procreation, but the Virata Purusha still would not rise. 66. The god of death entered his anus with the organ of defecation, but the Virata Purusha could not be spurred to activity. The god Indra entered the hands with his power of grasping and dropping things, but the Virata Purusha would not get up even then. 67. Lord Vishnu entered his feet with the faculty of locomotion, but the Virata Purusha refused to stand up even then. The rivers entered his blood vessels with the blood and the power of circulation, but still the cosmic being could not be made to stir. 68. The ocean entered his abdomen with hunger and thirst, but the cosmic being refused to rise even then. The moon god entered his heart with the mind, but the cosmic being would not be roused. 69. Brahma also entered his heart with intelligence, but even then the cosmic being could not be prevailed upon to get up. Lord Rudra also entered his heart with the ego, but even then the cosmic being did not stir. 70. However, when the inner controller, the deity presiding over consciousness, entered the heart with reason, at that very moment the cosmic being arose from the causal waters. 71. Translation 71. When a man is sleeping, all his material senses, namely the vital energy, the senses for recording knowledge, and the senses for working, the mind and the intelligence, cannot arouse him. He can be aroused only when the supersoul helps him. 72. Therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge, acquired through concentrated devotional service, one should contemplate that supersoul as present in this very body, although simultaneously apart from it. So then today's text number 1, chapter 27, entitled Understanding Material Nature. Śrī-bhagavān uvāca prakṛti-stho puruṣo prakṛti-stho puruṣo nājyate prākṛtair guṇaiḥ nājyate prākṛtair guṇaiḥ avikārād akartṛtvān avikārād akartṛtvān nirguṇatvāj jalārkavat nirguṇatvāj jalārkavat. śrī-bhagavān uvāca prakṛti-stho puruṣo nājyate prākṛtair guṇaiḥ avikārād akartṛtvān nirguṇatvāj jalārkavat. Bhagavan uvāca puruṣo prakṛti-stho avikārād akartṛtvān nirguṇatvāj jalārkavat. śrī-bhagavān uvāca prakṛti-stho puruṣo nājyate prakṛtair guṇaiḥ avikārād akartṛtvān nirguṇatvāj jalārkavat. Ladies, śrī-bhagavān uvāca prakṛti-stho puruṣo nājyate prakṛtair guṇaiḥ avikārād akartṛtvān nirguṇatvāj jalārkavat. Bhagavān uvāca śrī-bhagavān uvāca. The Personality of Godhead said, prakṛti-sthaḥ, residing in the material body. Api, although, puruṣaḥ, the living entity. Not. Ajyate is affected. Prakṛtair of material nature. Guṇaiḥ by the modes. Avikārāt from being without change. Akartṛtvāt by freedom from proprietorship. Nirguṇatvāt from being unaffected by the qualities of material nature. Jala on water. Arkavat like the sun. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Personality of Godhead Kapila continued, when the living entity is thus unaffected by the modes of material nature, because he is unchanging and does not claim proprietorship, he remains apart from the reactions of the modes, although abiding in a material body, just as the sun remains aloof from its reflection on water. Purport. In the previous chapter, Lord Kapila Dev has concluded that simply by beginning the discharge of devotional service, one can attain detachment and transcendental knowledge for understanding the science of God. Here the same principle is confirmed. A person who is detached from the modes of material nature remains just like the sun reflected on water. When the sun is reflected on water, the movement of the water or the coolness or unsteadiness of the water cannot affect the sun. Similarly, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prajojita. When one engages fully in the activities of devotional service, Bhakti Yoga, he becomes just like the sun reflected on water. Although a devotee appears to be in the material world, actually he is in the transcendental world. As the reflection of the sun appears to be on the water, but is many millions of miles away from the water, so one engaged in the Bhakti Yoga process is nirguṇa, or unaffected by the qualities of material nature. Avikārāt means without change. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that each and every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and thus his eternal position is to cooperate or to dovetail his energy with the Supreme Lord. That is his unchanging position. As soon as he employs his energy and activities for sense gratification, this change of position is called vikārā. Similarly, even in this material body, when he practices devotional service under the direction of the spiritual master, he comes to the position which is without change, because that is his natural duty. As stated in śrī-bhagavān, liberation means reinstatement in one's original position. The original position is one of rendering service to the Lord. Bhakti yogena, bhaktya. When one becomes detached from material attraction and engages fully in devotional service, that is changelessness. Akartṛtvāt means not doing anything for sense gratification. When one does something at his own risk, there is a sense of proprietorship and therefore a reaction. But when one does everything for Krishna, there is no proprietorship over the activities. By changelessness and by not claiming the proprietorship of activities, one can immediately situate himself in the transcendental position in which one is not touched by the modes of material nature, just as the reflection of the sun is unaffected by the water. Om Jnana Timidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Gam Guru Devachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yarkida Mande Siguram Devataranam Paramananda Maharavam Sri Chaitanyishwaram. So as Prabhupada mentions here in the purport, the first statement he makes is that Lord Kapila Dev concluded in the previous chapter that simply by beginning and discharge of devotional service one can attain detachment. And that verse was, therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge acquired through concentrated devotional service, one should contemplate that supersoul as present in his very body, although simultaneously apart from it. So, the understanding is that by engaging in devotional service, with body, mind, and words, right? The nectar of devotion tells us, "Iya yasya haryardasya karmana manasagita, nikilasya piyavastasu jivan mukta sa uchate." That simply by engaging the mind, one's body and words in devotional activity, one is considered to be liberated in all conditions. It's not that it should fluctuate. The understanding is that by engaging in devotional service, in whatever way one can, the process of bhakti is so nice that there are so many ways that one can engage in devotional service with the body, the mind, or the words. By engaging in that activity, one develops transcendental knowledge, as Prabhupada points out here, an understanding of the personality of Godhead. That, we understand, is to be the mission of all the great acharyas. When the Supreme Lord comes, he comes with that purpose. That it was the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Vairagya Vijanija Bhakti Yoga Shikshartam Eka Puruṣaḥ Purana. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission was to teach, and Kapila Deva is teaching the same principle here, that by engaging in the activities of devotional service, and that means vairagya vijja, that one has to practice by concentrating carefully on the devotional practices of Bhakti Yoga, one develops that automatically that detachment and transcendental knowledge which is necessary to continue. That knowledge has to be there, otherwise there will come a time when we start questioning what am I doing here, or why am I engaging in these activities? What is the purpose? And doubts arise in the mind, just as doubts were arising in the mind of Arjuna, and the Lord had to instruct him in the Bhagavad Gita. And when his doubts had been dissipated, immediately he understood what his position was, that is to be a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, to be engaged in devotional service of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord descends, as he did in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to teach that knowledge, his devotional service, and detachment from whatever does not foster or facilitate the practice of a devotional service. And therefore he's described as the ocean of mercy, just as here Kapila Dev and the other appearances of the Lord, they're all there. And as well as the appearance of the spiritual master. They're there to disseminate that knowledge so that a person can become detached from the modes of material nature and remain just like the sun reflected on water, as Prabhupada points out here. The water may move in so many turbulent ways, but the sun remains the same. And similarly, the material nature, the modes of nature, they're certainly always harassing us and dragging the living entity from this position to that position, from this mental idea to that mental idea. But when one engages and firmly fixes himself in the process of devotional service, and Prabhupada quotes this wonderful verse from Bhagavatam, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita, Janati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Haitakam, that the practice is so nice, this devotional practice is so nice, that it immediately awakens or offers or opens up, at least, or it facilitates the development of knowledge and automatically detachment from this world. There's significant progress there. There's one author who writes that we should not be confused, we shouldn't confuse motion with progress. A rocking chair, he gives the example of a rocking chair. A rocking chair moves, but it doesn't go anywhere. So we shouldn't confuse with emotion, just like in society we see in general. There's a lot of activity going on, and people they misunderstand what is progress. Does progress mean to create a more comfortable animal life, or a life that's based on eating, sleeping, mating, and defending? That's not progress. So the idea is that in devotional life, it may appear that that the devotee who's in the material world, that he's engaged in activity. And someone may confuse that, well, this person's not going anywhere. No, that we don't accept that. The process of bhakti is such that whatever you do, you're making progress. Whatever little activity you can engage in, you're making progress. It's transcendental because it's freeing one gradually from the influences and the modes of material nature. So although a devotee appears to be in the material world, he's not. Actually, he's in the transcendental world. And that is the result. It's the reward that one receives from practicing bhakti yoga. The process of bhakti yoga is so potent that by engaging in it, as we're hearing repeatedly here, engaging in it, one automatically becomes disinterested in the material world and its phantasmagoria. We're not interested in its so-called progress. It's not progress. It's just a covering over. It's an illusion. And the living entities, instead of becoming advanced in their lives and in their consciousness, they become more and more entangled. This, and as Prabhupada points out here, he's in the spiritual world as a reflection of the sun appears to be on the water, but is many millions of miles away from that water. One who is engaged in the bhakti yoga process is nirguna, or unaffected by the qualities of material nature. This understanding is given to us through the pages of the Bhagavatam. Namani rupani cha mangalani te. There's a beautiful instruction that though engaged in activities, ones whose mind is absorbed in the feet of the Personality of Godhead, and is constantly hearing and chanting and contemplating and causing others to do the same, that person is understood to be situated on the transcendental platform, and thus they can understand the Personality of Godhead. The process is so special, it's so glorious that it can't be understood by the mundane mind. That is his unchanging position, as Prabhupada points out here. As soon as he employs his energy and activities in sense gratification, though, this change of position is called vikara. Just as in the Shastras is described, how the living entity, Krishna Bahirmukhan Bhogavancha Kare, as soon as he wants to, or deviates from that process, he's immediately snatched by the material energy. But when he practices the process of devotional service under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, he comes to the position which is without change. He's no longer entangled in the activities of material nature. And as Prabhupada points out here, as stated in the śrī-bhagavān, liberation means reinstatement to one's original position. And that original position is bhakti yoga manasi. There's a very nice description given of, Prabhupada quotes these words, bhakti yogena bhaktya. That is from a very wonderful exchange between Sutta Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. This is being described to Shukad, obviously to Maharaj Pariksit. But he quotes, or he recalls the instruction given by Suta Goswami to the sages. He is describing to them the mindset of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva had, after he heard from, who was it, Narada? He went to his ashram, and there he began to, he went into his meditation, and he fixed his mind through the linking process of devotional service, Srila Prabhupada comments. And without any tinge of materialism, he was able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead along with his material energy. And then he, after that, met with Shukadeva Goswami and began to instruct him in the śrī-bhagavān. And you can actually go to this place in Badrinath where Vyasadeva spoke this wonderful literature of Srimad Bhagavatam to Shukadeva Goswami. They have a very, it's a nice little trek actually if you get a chance, that you can, at a certain point you have to hike up into the mountain areas, and there's a cave there. Some people, they go by palanquin because it's a long trip, but you have to climb stairs, and finally you get to the cave of Vyasadeva, and there they have inside a beautiful painting on the wall of the cave of Vyasadeva speaking to Shukadeva Goswami. And it's a beautiful piece of artwork on the walls of this cave, which is right on the banks of the Saraswati. Here, Prabhupada also points out in that shloka, in the previous, it's in the third chapter, I think, second or third chapter, first canto. And he talks about Vyasadeva being on the banks of the Saraswati. The Saraswati, we understand, is to be a tributary of the Alakananda. And you can go there, even to this day. It has such a spiritual energy to it. It's quite amazing. The Alakananda is coming out from the crevices, and it's just roaring. It's deafening. The sound is deafening. You can't hear yourself practically when you get close. And they have a little small little mandir set up where you can go and offer some puja to Saraswati, because the Saraswati, it merges into the Alakananda and continues down. And the roar is deafening, and the rocks, the boulders, they're just so huge you can't imagine. Some of them are just as large as the front of the altar here. They're just humongous. They're 30 feet by 30 feet, and the river is flowing through it, and you can see it's been flowing for some time because the rocks are very, very smooth, like river rocks are very smooth. And then you walk a little bit further to Bhima Pol. When the Pandavas left after the Battle of Kurukshetra to go to the Himalayas, Bhima went to this place, Badrinath. So there's a very beautiful little Samadhi Mandir that is dedicated to Bhimasena. this is not imagination. These are, when we read these wonderful exchanges that are going on in the Srimad Bhagavatam, they're real, and you can go and experience these wonderful places. Badrinath, Lord Badrinath is there. He's he's the presiding deity, and there's along the Alakananda, there's little hot springs that shoot up, and they have little bathing areas. The interesting thing is that that hot water is not volcanic. It's not produced by volcanic activity, but it's produced by the pressure and the rushing of the water. It's rushing so quickly that it heats up, and it creates these beautiful pools on the side of the river, on the bank side. And pilgrims, they go and bathe, and then they go and see the beautiful Badrinath deity. And then you can go out and you look into the distance, and there's Nilakant, a very, very beautiful, beautiful mountain, which is, who knows, the Badrinath itself is 11,000 feet high. It's well over 10,000. And then you can see off into the distance these beautiful, and if you walk through the area, you'll see little caves. Some of them have curtains over them, and some of them actually have little doors with locks where the different saints and sadhus, yogis reside. So these are not imaginary things, but the Bhagavatam is showing by practical example and by practical evidence how by practicing yoga one can come to a transcendental position, a transcendental consciousness, and not be affected. Just as the sun may appear to be disturbed by the rushing water, but is steady. So also in the practice of bhakti, the goal is to become very steady and not be disturbed by the rushing activities of the material modes of nature. And instead be focused. That is the goal. Fixing our mind on the personal form of the Lord and engaging in His devotional service. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Maya vesha mano yemam nityuktu pasate. The goal is to become fixed in the lotus feet of the Lord and engaged in His devotional service. And Krishna says that if you do that, I consider that person to be most perfect. So, and there are any questions or comments? Yes, Mataji. Can we get a mic, please? Let's wait 1 second.
Thank you for a nice class, Prabhu. I just wanted to add this interesting story about the power of holy name, that when the Padayatra India went to Badrinath, they left the bullock cart with the deities in Hardwar, and we proceeded on foot with the small Gaunitai deities. And when we eventually got to Badrinath, after like 3 weeks, I think it was, from Badrinath was the time we had a tractor that would carry all the pots and pans for cooking, all the luggage for the devotees, so when they walked, they could just concentrate on chanting. But when we went from Badrinath up to Mana and then up to Vyasadev's Gufa, we went in the tractor truck up through, because there are a lot of landslides and things like that there. And it was very interesting because the Indian army is based up there because of the border with China, so they didn't want any foreign people to go up to the up to the cave. But we were all in the in the truck, and we were chanting. And when they said we couldn't go, we started to chant Nrisimhadev prayers very loudly. And so then they said, okay, go, you can go. So we all went, and Jai Vijay Prabhu, he offered to Vyasadeva there Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. And at that time, the cave was just, natural. There was nothing developed there. It was just some rocks, and there was the Sarasvati. And it's nice to hear how it developed since then, and it became more official kind of place of pilgrimage.
Yeah, these places are very special. Going to either Badrinath, Kedarnath, or over to Puri, or over to Dwarka, or to Rameshwaram. You go to these places, you feel such a transcendental experience and a real connection to the pages of the Bhagavatam. When you see these places, and you can actually feel how these great personalities were there, and they're leaving they're purifying those places, Tirthavani Tirthani. Those places, they become special because of their presence, certainly. But when you go there, you can feel the purification, their mercy is still there. It's really special. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.